Yo, you're muted. I can't hear you, dog.
So,
Well, there you are.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Good,
Yeah.
man. I'll tell you what, I thought we were connected to this bad boy right here, but I guess not. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Absolutely.
All right, good, man. Because you're the only one virtual, so I got to know from just you. Okay.
Who else is in there besides Mason?
We have Alex and Mason. That's it right now.
Okay, cool. The three of us. Nice.
Yeah. Is there somebody that we're typically on, is there someone typically on here that we're missing?
I don't know what's up with Gabby, but normally she's here. And Kwame too, but I don't know where he's at either.
Okay. Okay. Kwame is, who's that again? Okay. All right. We'll give it like a minute. Okay.
Okay.
And then we'll definitely get started for sure. So I'll just give it a minute just before we get started and stuff like that. But in the meantime, man, I'll tell you what. Do you go by PJ? Is that what you go by?
Yeah. Yep.
What? Okay, gotcha. Obviously, Alex, you don't go by Alejandro. You go by Alex.
Whatever's easier, man.
Whatever's, of course, Alex is easier than Alejandro. But I like the name Alejandro. That's pretty sweet. You go by anything other than Mace, Big Dog, Killer? I'm just kidding. Whatever. I want, if it was up to me, it'd be some crazy stuff. So we're just gonna leave it as Mason. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. While we're waiting on some people, maybe you guys can, I don't know if you guys did this already, but maybe even just hop on. Maybe say something about yourself. And why you came here and what you're looking for in a career opportunity, maybe moving forward. All right. We'll start with you, PJ.
Yeah, I got this career opportunity through Indeed, and I was talking through with Tom Vina, Tommy's dad, for like 2-3 weeks. And I went through and I got certified and kind of hungry to make some money here.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. What?
Yeah.
That's good, man. Oh, where are you from?
From Chicago.
Oh, from Chicago. Okay. So you probably don't need a GPS like we do getting around this spot, man.
Yeah, I know my area for sure.
What part of, is it like right in the city or what part of Chicago?
I'm north of Chicago in Libertyville.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's a suburb, yeah.
A little bit of suburb over there. Okay.
Yeah.
How far are you from our office in Des Plaines?
Probably take me about 35 minutes to drive there.
Wow, that's not bad at all. It's not
bad at all. I actually plan on going there too, like real soon.
All right, sounds good. Well, I'll be looking forward to seeing you and definitely meeting with you. So welcome upon board, PJ. I love it. What's your real name, PJ?
Philip Joseph.
Okay, got you.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, awesome. Well, welcome. And Alex, let's hear where you're from, man. What's your story?
Yeah, I'm also from Chicago. Grew up in the Rogers Park area. Definitely,
You say Rogers Park?
Yeah.
I lived in Rogers Park for a year during college.
Ooh.
Yeah. Definitely grew up in Rogers Park, the Evanston area. So I'm familiar with Chicago. I heard about this opportunity through my brother, and I've seen how much potential there is. So I'm definitely hungry for knowledge, to make some money, and make a little better living for the family.
Where in Rogers Park are you from? Because I lived on Granville and Sheridan.
Yeah, more for I was more between like Clark and Western, from like Toohey to like what is it, Devon, like all that little area.
Oh yeah, I know.
Great little diverse community. I love it.
Hell yeah.
Love it. Awesome. Welcome, Alex. Alex is the man, the myth, the legend. He's one of the many brothers that work here. We got Marvin Mondragon, right? We got Brian. Now we got Alex. I love it. I love it. So, and last but not least, we got Mason. So yeah, I'll come to you, man. You're.
Yeah, man. I'm from Pittsburgh. I was just hanging out with the wrong people, getting in the wrong crowds, and doing dumb stuff back home, collecting unemployment, and I just didn't want to do it no more. So I always wanted to help families, but I didn't want to be a nurse. So I found this out, and I'm money hungry and to help families. I want to help people have a better life and be covered.
Heck yeah, man. Love
Yeah,
it.
buddy.
Love it. Let's get it, brother. From which part of PA you from?
Elizabeth, right by the old Century 3 Mall.
Yeah. Is that place still open? No, Century 3.
Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that area.
Yeah, definitely. We played TJ, man. They always had the biggest kids in football, dude. Keystone Oaks. Mm-hmm.
You guys had some big boys.
We had some big boys. We had some good.
Big
We did, man. We did. So, but awesome. Well, welcome aboard, guys. One thing I just want to make sure I mention, note takers are money makers. Okay. Everybody on this call should be taking good notes. I always say this as well, guys. A lot of people say that knowledge is power. I think that's just a bunch of BS. Okay. Knowledge is not power. It's the implementation that truly creates that power. Okay. Mm-hmm. So those of you guys that don't know me, which you probably do, obviously Mason and stuff like that. I was actually, so now I'm currently the regional director here. Also a managing director as well. So I was actually the top producer in the whole company, 2017, 2018, followed up with winning March Madness, won a car with the company. Every single year after that, I was like top 5, in the company. So during that process, I never said it to brag or boast, but was able to do that with like 90% retention. So that means, when I'm closing them, when I'm enrolling them, they're keeping it forever. In our business, we're not in the advanced business. We're in the renewal business. So you want to not only do your job, you want to do your job very thoroughly so that they keep the program. Does that make sense? Right? Mm-hmm. So today's topic is like literally my favorite. There's no like surprise on why they put me in charge of the closing training. You know what I mean? Because I love to close. Like, and I want you guys to know this too. If you guys came to this business for sales, if you guys came to AIL for sales, I want you to know that you don't make a dime in sales. Okay? You don't make anything in sales. You make money in closing. That's how you make money. Closing is everything. And I want you guys to know something, that literally the only way to be able to close is being able to have a belief yourself. Okay? Sales, the definition of sales and closing, the definition is a transfer of belief. So if you don't believe yourself, you will not be able to close anything. You ever hear that saying that person's so good he can sell ice to an Eskimo? That's a bunch of BS. I would never be able to sell ice to an Eskimo because an Eskimo doesn't need ice, right? I wouldn't be able to sell prescription drugs because I don't feel like I don't even take them. Why would I want to sell it to other people? I don't believe in it. You have to believe. That is the sole definition. You got to look at these people in their eyes. They say the eyes are the window to a man or a woman's soul, right? So you got to look them in their eyes and you got to tell them the deal. You got to be sold on this stuff. I bought a recent suit and it's customized. And what I put in it, I literally put this in it. A salesman is a sold man. You have to be sold. Now, there's 3 things they buy, okay? 3 things they buy. The first thing they buy is you. That's the first thing. The second thing they buy is the company. The third thing they buy is the product. So in order for you to sell those three things, guess what you need to be sold on? Yourself. You have to be sold on yourself. You have to be sold on the company. You have to be sold on the product. Guys, I used to walk around, even though I didn't know anything. I barely even knew my script. I was so new in the business, not even gaining traction. I was just a baby in the business. I walked around and I presented it like I was the best top producer out there. And I was brand new, didn't even know what I was. I literally was so sold on myself, so confident, because they buy you, but they buy confident in you, right? So I just was so sold. I felt like if I got a lead, dude, I got that lead for a reason. Joe, Mary, dude, if it was going to happen, it was up to me. It was destiny that I got Joe and Mary, right? I was just so sold on myself. I also got really good with products and got the reps out. So I was getting really sold on myself. So you have to, in order for them to buy you, you have to be sold yourself on yourself. Now there's this thing, it's called emotional contagion. Emotional contagion. What this means is that whatever you feel, you transfer over to them. If you're nervous, dude, they're going to be nervous to pick an option. If you're excited, they're going to be excited. If you're confident, they're going to be confident. Okay? So this goes with being sold yourself. You might not know every single thing, but you got to feel as confident as you possibly can because it's going to make them feel good about their decision. You have to be sold yourself, on yourself. The second thing is the company. Guys, I don't know about you guys, but and I'm not knocking a lot of other companies and things of that sort. I know a lot of business owners, my buddies, that literally spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to start a business and during the pandemic literally shut down. So I'm not knocking any other company, but guys, one thing I want to tell you is that during the pandemic, within a week, the company decided to literally go virtual. And not only did we stay above float, we've never done more than $7 million in 1 week. That's a lot for a company to do in a year. We literally not did 7 million in a week. During the pandemic, we did $9 million. We beat our all-time record by $2 million during the pandemic. Okay. Talk about recession-proof, depression-proof. And since we're in Chicago, I like to say bulletproof, right? So you got to think about this, guys. This company is not going anywhere. This is the best. You got to be sold on this, or else you're not going to be able to sell this stuff. You got to be sold. This company is the freaking best of the best. You got to take pride. Some people think like we're talking about life insurance and we're talking about death, and people are like scared to tell people that they do life insurance. Be proud. Be proud that you're an agent. Be proud of whatever you do. Hold yourself to a high-ass standard. And when you're sitting with these people, you need to be like, dude, like never feel like you're the nuisance. You need to be like, dude, if they're late, if they're like not giving you like the time they should, you should feel like they're in the nuisance, not you. That's being sold. That's being sold, right? So be sold in the company. And then the last thing is the products, right? Guys, there's so many people that now, especially during the pandemic, not even with the pandemic, just in general, there's a lot of policies that are dependent on the stock market. Imagine if you had your family protected with a policy that was dependent on the stock market right now, or during the pandemic, or during any type of financial crisis. Imagine that. Guys, we only work with guaranteed products that ride with you forever. You gotta be sold on this. You can negotiate rates so their cost is less and they get more. So you gotta be sold. Even the term that we have is renewable and convertible term, which means once they qualify today, they can keep renewing it and they do not have to qualify. And also they're able to convert it over into whole and they don't have to qualify once again. Talk about being freaking sold. So before you pick up the phone and try and call Joe and Mary, before you even pick up the phone or even try and sell a lead, you have to first and foremost be 110% sold yourself. You know who they say the best salespeople on planet Earth is? Let's see if anybody can guess. Who are the best salespeople on planet Earth?
I don't know, car salesman.
Hey, they're probably up there as like top 10. You know what I mean? That's a good guess. Who do you think, Alex? You probably know. The best salespeople on planet Earth. Bartenders, it's a freaking good guess. They're freaking keep serving you drinks. They're like, oh, come on, another one. I'm just kidding.
Did Alex just say bartender?
Yeah, he said bartender.
You know, that's what I've been doing for like the last 11 years, right?
Ah, PJ's going to be a stud. He's a bartender. All right. What do you think, Mason? Sell medicine? That's a really good guess. You want to know the answer? The answer is children. Kids are the number one salespeople on planet Earth. You know why? Because they're unreasonable. Dude, how sold are they on that lollipop at the store? They'll cry and excuse my language, they'll bitch, they'll complain. They'll literally do they're so sold that they need that lollipop or they are gonna freaking die, right? Now, I'm not saying that you have to cry and bitch and complain if they don't buy life insurance off you. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is you have to be unreasonable in your thinking. You have to just be so freaking sold that if they don't buy that day, it is detrimental. Dude, it was to the point where I would lose sleep if they didn't buy it. Not because, oh, I'm not going to get paid this week. I legit was like, dude, Joe is such a good dude. Why on earth didn't this guy get it? I'm like so beating myself up like, dude, why on earth did this? I'm like, what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? What could I have done better? I'm like beat myself up, staying up all night, thinking about how detrimental it is. What if he dies tomorrow? Like, dude, that's how sold I am. Dude, here's the crazy part is you have to be sold on this, right? So people buy stuff they need or they don't need all the time. People spend more on stuff they want than they do on things they need, right? You can buy a Mercedes-Benz car. You can buy the nice ring. You can buy the suit, the shoes. You can buy these different things, but these are things that we don't need. People need life insurance. People need this stuff. How are you going to get sold, right? Because there's going to be a sale at the end of that freaking sit. It's sell or be sold. You sell them on why they need it, or they're going to try and sell you on why they don't need it. So there's going to be a sell at the end of the freaking call, at the end of the Zoom, at the end of the in-person sit.
Boiler room.
Sell or be sold. So how are they going to sell you on not protecting the most important thing? If you ask somebody what the most important thing in their life is, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say their family. But I promise you, they're allocating their money in areas they feel are more important. There's nothing more important than their family. So here's the other crazy part is people will have the cars, they'll have the home, they'll have this, that, and another. Like I said, the shoes. Okay. But here's the thing. People actually will have insurance on their phone in case their phone breaks. People will have insurance on their car, obviously, if the car breaks, right? People, as horrible as this sounds, they'll have homeowners insurance in case, like I said, as horrible as it sounds, like if their house burns down, right? But they don't have insurance on the wife, on the husband. Dude, here's the problem with that, and this is why I'm so freaking sold, is without you, Joe, there wouldn't be a cell phone. Without you, Joe, there wouldn't be a car. Without you, Joe, there wouldn't be a home. Now, here's the other problem with that. Joe, if your car breaks down, sucks, man. I know, but we can fix that. Your cell phone breaks, we can replace that. As horrible as it sounds, if our home freaking burnt down, as terrible as that may sound, you know, we can fix that. You, Joe, you get a cut on your hand, we can kind of fix that up. You break your leg, we can replace that. We can fix that. But if your heart stops beating, Joe, can't replace that, man. That's called irreplaceable. So without you, Joe, none of this stuff would exist. So we have to protect the most important thing, and that's you, Joe and Mary. That's how you close. You got to hit them where it freaking counts, dude. People do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. You got to compare. You got to like, they need to understand that they're setting aside money, or they're spending their money on things they think are more important. There's nothing more important than their family. Nothing at all. You got to be sold on this. This is an easy sale. People think like this is easy. Dude, this is 110% super easy. There's only two things they can even say, right? Moving on to the next thing, there's really only two things they can say. The first thing is I want to think about it. And the other thing is I can't afford it. I don't care if you're the best football team out there. If I know you can only literally have a sweep right play and a sweep left play, I don't care how good you are, I'm beating you. There's no way I'm getting beat. You're running two plays. So what do we need to practice over and over and over again? I want to think about it, and I can't afford it. That's it. Okay? We have to get good at this. We have to. You should have 3, 4, 5. I want to think about it, and I can't afford it memorized. Verbatim. You should literally, like your managers, like when I call my people, I don't say, hey man, how was your weekend? Dude, I call them and I'm like, hey, I'm like, hey Bill, hey, what's up, man? I want to think about it. They're like, what? I literally, like, every conversation we're having is about closing. Every conversation. Dude, if we can't close, we need to lock ourselves in a room. I want to think about it. Nope, do it again. I want to think about it. Nope, do it again. I want to think about it. I can't afford it. Dude, that's it. We got to master those two. I used to think, because that's a little bit more reactive, right? I'm going to teach you how to be proactive. I used to think that going back and forth with the client, with the member, like I would close them after 30 minutes of closing back and forth. I'd be like, yeah, got that sale, right? Dude, I used to think that was the best closing. That's not. The best closers are the best proactive people. The best way to close is to be proactive. That's actually how you close. You have to be proactively beating any objection that they can possibly give you. So to prevent them from saying something like, I want to think about it, you got to get good at a couple things. Okay. One is very simple, doesn't take any really extra effort. You have to say today a lot. Today. That's exactly why they set up this program for you to enroll into today. And obviously we got to make sure everything's squared away today. I say today so much because psychology tells you if you're talking about today all day and Joe starts talking about tomorrow, you're like, wait, Joe, no, there is no tomorrow. We're not promised tomorrow. We're talking about today, right? So you make sure you're saying today a lot in your pitch. Yeah, that's exactly why I set this up today. Say today like 50 times, right? The other thing you want to say a lot is problem, concern, issue. Dude, I say problem so much during the pitch, they literally think they think it's a problem. Dude, if I was in the room with a bunch of people, 10, 20 people, and I'm like, Mason, we got a problem. Dude, Mason's going to be like, whoop, right? Or if even if I say the words problem, I guarantee you, naturally, we're going to be like, what's the problem, right? We want to fix it, right? So when you keep stating that there's an issue, that there's a concern, these people are like, dude, they really think there's a freaking problem. So that's what selling is. You have to sell the problem before you even try and sell the benefits of our program. People are so fixated on, oh, but we have this, this, and this. You have to create the problem, right? I remember an example was given to me. It was like, hey, Mason, if I went up to you right now and I said, hey, I got this air pump. Do you want to buy it? You'd be like, no, what do I need an air pump for? What are you talking about, right? Next day you come in, right? And right before you're about to leave, I go outside and I deflate all your tires. And then I come up to you, you go outside and you're like, what the hell? And I come up and like, hey, do you want this pump? It's gonna be $100. You're like, okay, I guess I'll buy it, right? Because you're not leaving that parking lot until you have the product that I'm trying to sell. But the only way you're gonna want that product is if what? I created a problem, right? You have to be sold and selling the problem before you even try and sell the solution. So make sure you're saying a sure way to create a problem or at least reveal the problem is to say problem, concern, issue. Everything's a problem, okay? Some other ways to be proactive without wanting to think about it, okay, is in the why we're there. You have to tell them exactly why you are there. You have to explain to them in a very, you said, so you have to explain to them exactly why you are there in a clear manner. Very slowly, you have to explain it. I literally say it like I'll repeat it maybe 2 or 3 times, and I need to get a verbal yes. If I say, so what we're going to do today, like I said, we didn't see any paperwork filled out for your permanent additional insurance benefits. So our job today is to enroll you into those permanent additional insurance and then move forward to the rest. If I say that and I say, does that make sense? Is that fair enough? And they go like this, if they go, I'm like, okay, real quick, Joe, because I'm going to fly through this once I get through that. I have to make sure these benefits are super important. I need to make sure. So like I said, there's 4 no cost benefits, one of which is that insurance policy. Okay. Does that make sense? Right. I'm like, really, dude, they have to get this. They have to get this. If they don't get it, I'm going to reiterate and make sure, because in the why we're there, they should know. There's no reason why they should say at the end, like, oh, well, do we have time to think about this? They're like, wait, what? We told you today we're going to enroll you in today, as long as you can qualify. The only reason why they don't enroll is if they can't qualify. That should be the only reason. So you have to slow down. You have to, like, literally, the why we're there, you're literally telling them and assuming the sale. You're assuming the sale. You're assuming that you drove all the way out there, or you set them up on the Zoom, sit with them for 2 hours. Dude, not for them to say, I want to think about it. You're doing that to enroll them into the insurance. That's how you close as well. You got to be very assumptive. Very assumptive. Okay. Another good thing is using tie downs. Tie downs are very important. You want to get at least 50 yeses throughout the whole presentation. Okay. You want to get these yeses. The reason why, psychology will tell you, there's so much psychology behind the sale, right? So if you're getting these small little yeses throughout the pitch, right, you're getting what's called their buy-in. Their buy-in. So if you're getting their buy-in and they're telling you, yeah, that makes sense to me. Absolutely. I can see why that's so important. Hey, I can see. You're getting all these small yeses throughout the pitch. At the end, right, you're going like this the whole time. Do you think they're going to say no? No, dude, they're not just going to be like, no. They've been saying yes the whole freaking time. Now you'll get the big yes at the end. Now, a tie down, a good example would be, hey, does that make sense, Joe? And then a double tie down would be, obviously, you can see why that's so important, Mary. That's a double tie down, right? So if you need to catch up on your tie downs, you use double, triple tie downs, right? I had one guy, he would literally go like this. He'd be like, does that make sense? As soon as they were about to say yes, he'd go, I'm sorry, does that make sense? He'd like personally like cough. It was weird, but it worked. And then there's one guy that used to go, huh? Huh? That's all he would do. Rick Altig, actually, who I shouldn't just say is some guy. He's a freaking legend in our company, has the highest renewals he's the most successful SGA and one of the longest SGAs to ever live. So he would literally be like, does that make sense? They'd say yes. He'd say, huh? Right. So you get a double tie down, right? Super vitally important, guys. Very, 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 very important. We have to get those tie downs, get the buy-in from them. Another way to proactively beat that I want to think about it is in the mandatory read-off letter. Guys, think about it. The mandatory read-off letter. That mandatory read-off letter is there for a reason. It's mandatory. You have to read it, right, Mason? So you have to read the mandatory read-off letter. And I tell them, hey, guys, we're going to go ahead and read this together. This is the mandatory read-off letter. And I literally read it verbatim. I don't skip anything. Dude, I literally read it verbatim. Okay? And at the end of it, I do the so basically paragraph, right? And you got to make sure it makes sense. And you tell them, you're like, hey, guys, listen. So I tell them this. I say, someone's trying to get on. I don't know if I should. It's 34 minutes in. Who's Quam?
Kwame.
What do you think? Kwame, should we let him in or what?
Yeah, let him in.
All right, let's give him a boo once he comes on, okay? Cool. Let's boo him. Boo! We're gonna boo him. He can't hear us yet.
Where you at, Kwame?
DJ feels bad. He's like, I don't want to boo him. Boo!
Oh my God, Kwame.
Quam.
He's probably delivering for FedEx right now.
Okay. Hey, Quam, one thing, man, if you're going to be on here, we got to be in a stationary spot. We got to show face. So if you can show face and you're in a stationary spot, stay on. If not, if you can hop off, please. That'd be great, man. Okay.
Yeah, he's delivering.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
On the phone and then, yeah.
What'd you say?
No, yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good, man.
Can
So,
you hear me?
yep, I can
Yeah.
hear you. Yep, sounds good. So when you're proactively, right, when you're proactively beating the objection, right, it's very simple to be able to use the mandatory read-off letter, right? It's very simple to use the mandatory read-off letter and use it. So basically paragraph right after, okay? The reason being, and you want to say something along the lines of this, you need to make sure they understand that obviously this decision has to be made today. Okay? So you tell them, you say, all right, guys, so so basically what it's saying here, guys, is if the needs analysis determined that there was a gap, then obviously, guys, we have to get that gap covered today during your enrollment period. Okay. Now, if there was no gap or was no need, then obviously they wouldn't have us be covering any gaps because there wouldn't be. But obviously, we pointed out the income, right? The funeral. We have to make sure those are covered for your family today during your enrollment period. Does that make sense? You have to say, like, dude, after I say, so basically I literally say that, like, okay, so just so you know, right? And I'm almost reiterating the why we're there again. Okay. I'm literally reiterating the why we're there again. So if you say it in the why we're there, you say it in the mandatory read-off letter, and then you can even throw in the 3 times people think about it before you show options, right? That helps. I'll tell them, guys, and just so you know, there's really only 3 times people think about this type of stuff. And the first is usually, when our health changes, right? And now it's really difficult to qualify for the program. 2 is when we have, a near-death experience or someone, close to us dies. Or the last way is when we're here. 2 out of those 3 times, it's just too late. So the union has to make sure that obviously it's going to be when we're out here. Okay, does that make sense? Right? I blame it on the union. I'm like the union had to make sure that obviously we get that taken care of when we're out here, not those other 2 times. Does that make sense? You see why we're out here today? You throw in that today again, right? So you need to really tie them down, get their buy-in, right? They're bought in, they're sold, they're with you the whole time, and you're proactively beating any objection that they can possibly face or that you can possibly face throughout the pitch. Okay. Now, I can't afford it. I mean, to be honest with you guys, I can't afford it. It's just a bunch of BS. If they tell me I can't afford it, but and here's some proactive ways to beat that. But just to let you know my mindset, I'm not sold whatsoever on them not being able to afford the program. It's just, you can't sell me on that. Because I promise you, in Rapport, in all these different areas, you can find out where they're spending their money. And I promise you, like I said, they're allocating their money in areas they feel are more important. And there's nothing more important than their family, like I had mentioned. I bet you any money you find out in Rapport, you say things like this: hey, are you working that 40-hour shift, or are you working any overtime? Or they kind of cutting your hours? Oh, I'm working all the overtime I can get. I was barely able to sit with you today. Well, guess what? I know he's working overtime. I know he can afford it, right? If you ask him, hey, what do you guys do for fun? And he tells you he has season tickets to the game, right? He tells you he's going to go hunting. He tells you they go out to that favorite restaurant every single week and get steak or pizza or whatever it is. Or you ask, hey, what are the kids into nowadays? Oh, they're into this sport, this sport, this. Oh, okay, you guys are just staying home for the most part? What have you guys been doing with the whole pandemic? Oh, you're watching movies. Oh, on Netflix? Dude, I'm trying to figure out where they're spending their money.
Mhm.
I'm trying to figure this out because I know they believe and think that they can't afford it, but really, and you gotta kid them soft, you know what I mean? You can't just be like, well, Joe, you smoke a pack of cigarettes every day. I mean, you can't say that. That's not gonna go over well, right? So you might say something like this, like, hey, like in the close, maybe you can say like, hey, listen, no, Joe, Mary, I get it. I'm with you. I completely understand where you're coming from. But, to be honest with you, if we did literally one less game a week, you mentioned that you had season tickets. If we did one less game a week, it would take care of this program. Then the union, they're not asking you to never, ever go to a hockey game ever again. That's not what they're asking us to do. But if we went to one less a month, I would take care of this, man. Right? So what we need to do, and I would go back to the close, right? So they're going to take that a little bit better than, well, you have season tickets to the game, man. You can afford this, right? So you got to say it in a good way where it's not going to offend them, and you're kind of putting it on the union. The union, they're not asking you to never go to a game ever again, right? There's a lot of psychology behind this. The union, they're not asking you, right? It's not me saying it. It's really, I'm just putting it on them, okay? Now, with affordability, I mean, you can ask them things like, hey, if you were to set aside, $2 for every $100 that you made, would that take away food from the table or drastically change your lifestyle? Like, you can throw stuff like that in there. I asked them how much they save per month. I swear to you, I asked that in the needs. I say, now, are you guys saving money per month? Right? And if they say $100 and then they try to tell me they can't afford it, well, that's a bunch of BS because I know you save $100 a month, right? Now, I don't tell them that, but I got that from Josh Deschamps, who, remember I told you I was a top producer? He was literally like consecutively the top producer in the company for like forever. He's like one of the best in the business ever, So I got that from him, and he would always ask for the savings, and he was really good at kind of asking them questions to make them realize that they can afford it. Almost like you don't want to use their words against them, but it's like, hey, what you've said has already been said. That's the thing about communication. You can't take it back. So I already know you can afford this, but I'm not telling them that, right? I just know. Okay.
Bring that up to them.
Yeah.
And somehow you'd be like, so you told me you were saving $100 a month.
Mm-hmm.
That would cover protecting your family.
Yep. So here's what I would say. You're exactly right. So maybe in the close, I'd be like, Yeah, no, I totally understand. I'm with you, man. I know it. You know, the $50 a month or $100 a month, whatever it is. I know it may seem like it's a little difficult, you know, especially during now. You know, I get it, man. I'm with you. Always agree with them. You know, their perception. You know, at the union, they're not asking us to take out the whole entire savings that we save per month. But man, even if we set aside 50, half of it, it would cover the other 50 and your family, right? So the most important thing, man, we gotta make sure we have something, right? So what we can do and then go back to the closes. Okay. So more or less, I mean, that's the mentality. You know, that's the mentality we gotta have. That's the mentality. Like we gotta hit them. It's like you want to give them that tough love. Like imagine if your buddy, one of your best friends, is you're at a party and my man is literally drunk, but he's like, all right, guys, I'm getting out of here. And you're like, what are you talking about, man? You're not leaving. What are you doing? He's like, no, dude, I'm good. You're like, no, you're not good. You're not leaving. Like, and you're like, you like grab his keys. And he's like, why would you do that? You know, you guys like might even get into a fight. You might have to literally choke your friend down, put him in a freaking chokehold so he doesn't leave that party. Like, dude, you can't just be like, oh yeah, for sure, man, go ahead and leave. Well, be careful driving home. No, you're going to give them tough love and you're going to be like, dude, you're not leaving. I'm going to literally choke you out so you don't freaking leave. I'm taking your keys. You're not leaving. Dude, that's how we got to be with these people. We have to, like, I'm not saying you got to choke them out, you know, when you're in the home with them, but you have to give them a little bit of tough love. Like, listen, no, I get that. I'm with you. But permission to be real with you, right? Permission to be real, permission to be honest. You've been honest with me the whole time, Joe, but permission to be just straight up with you, honest. Dude, that, you know, gives you permission to just tell them, like, listen, Joe, we have nothing. That's a huge problem. It's very rare to see nothing, man. And the thing is, right now, I get where you're coming from, but it's going to be a lot easier as a team, as a family, you, Joe, you, Mary, to come up with $100 a month together as a family than for when Mary, you know, when you die, Joe, Mary have to come up with, you know, 100,000 just for the mortgage, man. I get where you're coming from, but things are tough now. I can't imagine when something happens to you, Joe. So I get it. I'm with you. I understand that $100 may seem like a lot, but when you pass away, it's going to be a lot easier to come up with 100 now as a team than for when you die, Joe. Mary have to come up with 100,000 all by herself, all at once. So I'm with you, man, but we have to make sure we figure out which one of these options make the most sense and which one's going to fit the need the best. You see what I'm saying? You got to give it to, you got to tell them. You got to tell them. You can't just go through the whole thing and then just be like, oh, we're going to pack up our stuff and get out of here. No, you got to fight a little bit. And that's where being sold is so important. If you're sold, remember that kid, I told you the children, they're the best salespeople out there. They will cry and whine and complain until they get that lollipop. You got to be a little bit sold. You got to be a little bit sold so that you can literally say stuff like that and not feel like you're pushing them. Dude, it only feels pushy if you're not sold. It only feels pushy if you're not sold. You have to be sold yourself and transfer that belief, and they will believe. I promise you. Okay. Some other ways to be proactive as well, guys. Okay. Imagine if you have a pitch like this, right? You can have a pitch like this, right? And you can have a pitch that's a little bit more like this. Now, I taught Vince how to do this, and I think in one of his training classes, he does the same thing. So, but one thing I want to mention that's probably different than what he said and had mentioned, because he was talking about rapport. I mean, if you lack the control, lack the rapport, you don't have a lot of tie downs like we were talking about, right? You're not saying problem enough. Your script, I mean, dude, if you're literally spending all this time at the close, if you're spending all your time going back and forth in the close, you need to take your script, return it. It's busted. You need to get your receipt and get that thing back to the store. You need to revamp your script. Instead, when you build a lot of control, you have a lot of good rapport, you got tie downs throughout, they're freaking loving you. Dude, you're not going to spend any time closing. You're proactive about beating all these objections. Dude, they're literally just going to pick an option. You guys know when I hit the field, I just hit the field and hit 20,000. Recently, during our big push for breaking our all-time record, we did 103,000. You know how much I did of that? 27,000 of it myself. Dude, I'm saying this stuff because I wish I knew this stuff when I first started. Right? So this is the sauce. This is the fire. You got to be able to implement this stuff. You got to be able to implement this stuff. And speaking of control, well, hey, listen, you want to be a closer, right? Right now we're losing, right? We're not closing deals. We're freaking getting beat. We're a loser, right? How do you become a closer? How do you become a closer? How do you go from a loser to a closer? Build rapport, good guess. What do you think? Definitely right. Yep. What do you think, Alex? Absolutely. What do you think, PJ?
I don't know, like trust.
Trust is definitely huge. Yep. I was going to call you PJ Cali. No, I'm just kidding. You got to add a C, guys. That's it. To become a closer from a loser, you just got to add the C, baby, right? The C stands for control. You got to have control, okay? Control is so vitally important throughout the process. If you have control, dude, you don't even have to have the best script. Let's just be honest. A lot of us are brand new. We're going to fumble. If you have the control, they'll listen to you. If they listen to you, the shit sells itself. Excuse my language. The stuff sells itself. You got to have the control. Think about, I don't know if you guys went to college or school or whatever it is. First day of class, professor comes walking in, right? And cracks some lame jokes that nobody thinks is funny, but everybody is sitting there laughing. Why? Because everybody's nervous. First day of school, they're trying to fit in, right? The teacher, the professor, they have the control. When an officer comes to your door, right, he doesn't say, hey, real quick, is it okay if I get your license and registration? No, they have control. They're like, license and registration. You're like, oh, all right, here, buddy, right? When a doctor comes in the door, right? Doctor comes in, hey, put your arm up, do this, cough. I don't know, they have the control. If you're busy, you're important, you have what? The control. Busy, important, control. So you gotta have control throughout the process. Good ways to get control are, like I said, the tie downs. You gotta get them to do stuff for you in the beginning, and then you have to maintain that control, and they'll just do whatever for you. Dude, you have people like literally like making me dinner, right? They'll be making you dinner, same thing. Nothing special about me. I just got a good system. That's all, right? We got a good system. And then I follow that system like a robot. You have to start with control. You have to. You can't, oh, you know what? I'm gonna do rapport, and then I'm gonna go into the benefits. Oh, I'm gonna just go into the benefits because he wanted me to get started. No, you have to do control, then rapport, then you go out throughout the script. It's crazy. You have to do it that way. You have to. If you're a doctor and you have a huge procedure, you have to follow step by step that procedure, or else you can kill somebody. Dude, if you don't load a gun properly, the shit is not going to fire at the end. If you don't, there's no ladies in here, but if you're baking a cake or something like that, maybe there's some men that like to cook in here as well. If you're baking a cake, if you don't follow that recipe, yeah, you might be able to get the cake, but it's probably not going to be the cake that you wanted, right? It's going to be different if you didn't follow the exact recipe. Dude, when you follow this recipe, you get pronto, bacco, closo, is what Grant Cardone says. Pronto, bacco, closo is what he says. You get to close.
So, the guy says,
Alex, question.
The guy says, just get all the details, go straight to the point. What's an easy way or good way to say, well, I still have to do my whole presentation?
Yeah, absolutely. So first things first, don't call it a presentation. Okay, which you know that, all right. But you don't want them to think it's a pitch. Oh, I got to go through my pitch or my presentation, right? But really, really solid question. So Alex just asked is, what if someone's like really pressing you? Can we just get started? Can we do blah, blah, blah. This is why when I train my agents, right, like Ashley Miza, Austin Oaks, Christina, right, train them directly. And one thing that they do that's very vitally important is as they're getting the control, right, as they're getting the rapport, they're acting like they're playing with stuff, acting like they're playing with papers. I don't want you to sit there. I'm sorry, the camera's over here, but I don't want you to sit there and just go like this. Yeah, so how long have you lived there for? Oh, okay. It's been about 10 years. 10 years, that's a lot. Dude, you don't look busy. They're going to be like, can we get started? You got to be like this. You got to be like, oh, tell you what, Joe, can you hear me? Okay, perfect. Can you see me? Okay, great. Joe and Mary, right? Perfect. Real quick, been running around like a chicken with my head cut off, running around like crazy. We've had like 7 members before us, and I know we got like 4 after you. Real quick, go ahead and grab that quality control, that confirmation number. You're going to need that to receive your benefits. It's super important. And real quick, grab a pen and paper while you're at it as well. Go ahead and grab that real quick, okay? Boom, right? They're doing stuff for you. They're like, they know you're the boss. You're in control. You got to set the stage, okay? And then as I'm talking to them, I make rapport sound like it's an accident. I don't want to make it so it's so forced and like, hey, so this is a nice place. I'm like, oh, yeah, we've been running around. We've been in Grays Lake, Fox Lake, Lake Villa. Man, there's just a bunch of lakes out there, huh? Now, you guys are toward Antioch. Now, how far is that from Wisconsin border? I'm playing with papers. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, wow. Like, I'm acting like it's an accident. Like, oh, wow, this guy's actually really interesting. Let me spend some time with him, right? And then if still he's like, dude, let's just get started. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I'm actually pulling your paperwork together. I'll definitely be able to get you started here. Now, real quick, before I get started, how long have you been in the union for? Dude, I literally use what's called the porcupine effect. You answer their question with a question. Now, I think why they call it the porcupine effect is because when you try to poke a porcupine, if you ever tried, you're probably going to get poked right back, right? So I think that's why they call it that. I can't assume everything, but I'm going to assume that. And you literally, so you're like, hey, can we get started? You're like, yeah, no problem. Definitely, we probably should. We have like 6 members after you, we're running around. Now, real quick, before we get started, how long have you been in the union for? Okay, because I'm pulling up your paperwork now. So, and you said it's been 10 years. Okay. Now, you plan on retiring with them? Oh, you do? Okay. They treat you pretty good there, huh? Okay. What do you exactly do for them? I know a lot of the guys have been telling me they've been truck drivers, but it seems like with the Teamsters, it's different. It's different depending on the area. So what do you do? Okay. Right. So I basically tell them I'm going to get started and keep acting like I'm about to get started. But I need to make sure that I get the rapport with them, because if you don't get the rapport, just like Vince probably had mentioned in the workshop with rapport, you're literally going to be perceived as a salesperson. You're literally going to, like, I can't stand when someone skips rapport and they just go right into it. The people are like, this guy's just trying to sell me something. What? Like, dude, when you get the control and you build a good relationship with them, they're like, this dude's cool. I'll hear him out, right? This girl's cool. I'll hear what he has to say. He seems like a good guy. You got to show them that. But yeah, so that's why I don't even like to do the pitch. If I didn't get rapport, I literally don't even feel like I'm going to close them. So I try to keep forcing it, try to keep, not forcing it, but I try to keep reverting it, acting like I'm busy, and I notice when I have better control, the rapport is better as well. Because they're like forced. They know it's important and you're a busy guy or girl, right? So, but don't skip it. Don't ever skip it. Don't let them skip it. Now, People always ask me the time frame on Rapport. And that's like one of the best questions I ever get because it's hard to tell. Some people, like older people, you want to spend more time with them. You know why? Because their trust is very low. Younger people, they kind of like, oh, the union benefits, this is great. They're already trusting. So it's not that I don't spend any rapport with them. I still spend 15 minutes or so. And then on older people, I might spend, I've been in a house getting 45 minutes of freaking rapport, just rapport. And then they're showing me everything. You know, they're going everywhere. And even on the Zoom, I'm like, you know, one lady was like, I'm not interested. I'm not. And she's yelling. And then we get her on. By the end of it, she's like, man, we were thinking about this. Like, I'm so glad that you came about. Like, yeah, like this girl, like, look, she has double personalities. I was just kidding. No, she's just literally. It's funny. They think it's their idea that you are there when you give them a good service. First, they're fighting you and fighting it. And you know what that means too? Side note, because I'm going to complete the rest of this. Side note, guys, if people are giving you a hard time in the beginning, I want you to know that typically means that somebody has low sales resistance. Low sales resistance. Okay. So those people you want to prioritize. They're so scared that you're going to show them something that they actually liked, weren't planning on buying, and actually can afford. So those people, the last time someone came around, I ended up buying a Kirby vacuum, right? Last time I spent $3,000. They know, they have their guard up so much that literally once you break that guard, they know that you're all theirs, right? So those people with low sales resistance, you gotta not let that stuff get to your head. You gotta let it go in 1 year and out the other. 1 year and out the other, okay?
I like that with the papers. That's what I did last night.
Yep.
I was going to my report and he was on a spin in the car, but I felt like I was just staring at the camera.
Yeah.
Just sitting there, and I
Yep.
started just twiddling my fingers waiting for a response.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, like you want to, I mean, throughout that process, you want to, you know, it's tough, and you gotta be good, like with rapport. And like I said, I know Vincent mentioned some of this stuff. I probably just went over the same exact stuff that I taught him anyways, but he mentions, or maybe he didn't, I don't know, but you want to be good, I forget what they call it, but you want to be really good at piggybacking a conversation. You don't want it to be like 21 questions. You want to use what's called active listening, right? So Mason, how long have you been in the union for?
5 years.
5 years. Wow, that's a long time. They say 2 years. I'm like, wow, that's a long time. 10 years. Wow, that's a long, you know what I mean? Whatever they say. But do you notice I said 5 years, right? And then I would piggyback and say, wow, do you plan on retiring with them?
Just have to ask the next question on to what you already asked.
Yes, but yeah, exactly. But the next question can't be, oh, do you have a big family in the area? Oh, okay. What do you guys like to do for fun around here? Like we're not even listening to what they're saying. Like we need to have a conversation. Like we say, how long have you lived here? We got to talk about the area for a couple minutes. Guys, you know, if you ever go up to a girl, right? And you're like, just go up to her and start asking her question after question because you're all nervous or whatever it is, question after question after question. Dude, they're going to sense that and they're going to be like, is this guy even like listening to me? Like, I just said my mom died and you know, or no, they can say, dude, I saw an alien. I killed him, buried him in the backyard. And you're like, oh, that's great. So do you have a lot of family in the area? Because we're not listening to what they're saying, right? And I struggled with this too. I was so nervous. Dude, I'm not up here saying I'm freaking perfect because I'm far from it, right? The only difference between you and me, I just have a lot of time and a lot of hours put in mastering my craft. That's the only difference. Trust me, there's nothing special about me. But one thing I definitely did struggle with was I would be like, oh, this is a nice home. How long you lived here? And I would laugh at my own jokes and they weren't really laughing at it. Like, I'd be like, oh, I'll tell you what, I got 5 sisters, 5 nieces. That's like birth control in itself right there. That's probably why I don't have any kids. And I would look at them and they're like, and I'm like, oh, like this is it. And I get all red in my face. And they're like, oh, this is horrible. You know what I mean? But you gotta understand that when you listen to them and you show them that you care, you really like have a You want to have a conversation with them. You want to, like, it has to be a conversation is like one person talking, the other person receiving. You got to keep the talking going. You got to keep it going. Okay. All right, guys. So, couple of the last things, guys. I want to give you the recipe for the close. Okay. Recipe for the close, and we're pretty much over. Okay. So I try to jam pack all the stuff that I got from, sales books, all the stuff I got from learning the closes after a while. I try to just put it all in one workshop for training, right? So I take a little bit from Grant Cardone, for freaking all these different people that have taught me so much, and try to jam pack it into one workshop and one training class. Okay. But here's the recipe for the close. This is spot on recipe. Okay. Now, before I give you the recipe, because there's going to be 5. Before I give you the recipe, I want you to know the number one rule of closing. The number one rule of closing is always, always, always agree. Always agree. Dude, if they think this wall is white and I know it's gray, if you're trying to protect that family and get the enrollment, it's whatever they say it is. Dude, you got to agree. It's too much money. I agree with you. It is too much money. But when we really think about it, right, you go back to, but you got to agree. You got to really just agree with whatever they're saying. Think about the relatives that you get along with so much with. It's probably the ones that you agree with most. Think about the people you hang around. If someone's always disagreeing with you, dude, that's probably the people you don't get along with. Those are probably the people that are repelling away from you, right? You're not attracted to those people. I don't want to fight with people. I want to be agreeable. Agree with in their perception, whatever they think, you just agree with their perception. They might think it's this, and you just agree with them. Okay. So that's the first number one rule of closing. You have to agree with them. Okay. But there's going to be five recipes to closing. That's just the number one rule. Okay. There's 5 recipes. Okay. When they give you an objection, because what technically happens, or what does happen, they give you an objection, you come back with a rebuttal. All right. I got these confused. For some reason, I thought rebuttals were the same. And technically, they give you an objection, you come back with a rebuttal. Okay. So the first. We hit them with the rebuttal. Yeah, we hit them with a rebuttal. Mm-hmm. So they say, I want to think about it. And then we say, well, there's only 3 times, people think about it. That's a rebuttal. So they give us an objection. They object. They say, I object. Okay. And they say, I want to think about it. Right. And then you say the rebuttal. So that's technically how it works. An objection and a rebuttal. Okay. Now, the recipe, the 5 recipes for closing. The first one, as soon as they give you an objection, don't just go straight to your rebuttal. The first thing you do is you got to act really calm. All right. Sounds easy, sounds simple, but I've had people literally, I want to think about it. Oh, Joe, they're like trying, it's so desperate. You know what I mean? Just act calm. No big deal. You've been practicing this, remember, right? I want to think about it. Okay, you got this, right? Act calm. Okay. I'm known for going, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, when I say we just need to figure out which option makes the most sense to you and which one fits the need the best, I get out of the screen, right? And as soon, Mason, say I want to think about it. Okay. That's how slow I am, right? That's how slow. I'm not like this. Say I want to think about it. I want to think about it. Oh, yeah. No, I totally understand, guys. But the thing, right, you got to calm. Just say it again.
I want to think about
you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's literally how I do it, right? So it's almost awkward, but people hate silence. Dude, they hate it. Have you ever been on a first date and you're talking, they're talking? Dude, you hate that silence. You're like, this is weird. You know what I mean? Like, you don't like it. It's because we have noise all the time. So like when people, they don't like it's very uncomfortable for them to have the silence. Okay. So the first thing is act calm. Okay. even visibly relax. If you're in this, if you're doing in person, I would visibly sit back and say, okay, yeah, for sure, I understand. So the next thing, number 2, is agree, understand, and show empathy. Agree, understand, and show empathy. Agree, understand, show empathy. Dude, you got to agree with them. Remember, the number 1 rule is to agree with them. Whatever their perception is, you have to agree. You got to show empathy, you know what I mean, and what they're saying. You know, a sure way, oh, this is fire, dude, a sure way. I used to get kicked out of houses sometimes because I would be so disagreeing with them. I'd be like, why? Like, I don't understand why this doesn't make sense. Like, Joe, I'll be a disagree. Dude, a sure way, this is funny, a sure way to confirm their decision that they want to think about it is to disagree with them. Now they want to do it even more. I want to think about, well, why would you? No, they want to stick to their word, right? That's why you don't disagree with them. Dude, this is hard. This is hard to agree with people. Imagine, dude, like try going a whole day with agreeing with somebody, with agreeing with everybody in your life. You know, try to agree with everybody. It's very difficult, actually. You probably lose after a couple hours. Kids wake up, right? Daddy, I don't want to go to school. No, dude, you got to get your stuff, get ready. What? Wrong. You already failed for the day. Instead, yeah, little buddy, no, I totally get it. I'm with you. When I was in school, I didn't want to go to school either, man. But hey, man, we got to make sure you get good grades so you can do big things in this world. Go ahead and get your stuff, man. Right? That's more agreeable. That's agreeable. You don't want to just say, no, if we have this conversation again. No, you're disagreeing, right? Girlfriend says, hey, why didn't you pick up the laundry? You should have done this. Yeah, I agree with you, babe. I should have done that. That's my fault. How can you argue with that? Dude, a sure way to shut somebody up, a sure way to get someone to stop arguing with you is, I agree, you're right. How can you argue with that? It's like, you're right, man. You're totally right, Alex. Like, yeah. They're like, yeah, I know I'm right. They feel good. They're like, they want to be right. That's why they're saying it, right? People love being right. So you just agree with them. So like I said, number 1 is act calm. Number 2 is agree, understand, show empathy. No, I'm sorry, that was number 2. Okay, number one is act calm. Number 2 is agree, understand, show empathy. Number 3 is proceed to the rebuttal. Now you can proceed to the rebuttal. Now you can proceed to the rebuttal. So you'll say yeah, calm, go in the screen slow. Like I said, yeah, no, I agree with you. I know it may seem like it's uncomfortable. I get it. Times are tough right now, but boom. And then, you can say what I said. It's going to be a lot easier to come up with, $50, $100 a month, whatever it is. That's the rebuttal. So you proceed to that rebuttal. The next thing, this is crucial, guys, on the phones, in person, everything. You need to rebuttal, then close. Right after a rebuttal, number 4 is close. Just like when we're on the phones, you see, they say, can you just mail it? You say, yeah, they make my life a lot easier, but the company does require us to do this, explain, answer any questions. So we just got to figure out this anytime between 6 and 7. Will you have anytime between 6 and 7 or 7 and 8? Which one works better? I didn't just say, yeah, the company requires us to mail it out to you or to deliver it out, explain and answer any questions. And stop. That's the rebuttal. You got to rebuttal, then close. Okay. So in this case, you would say, it's going to be a lot easier to come up with $100 a month, as a team, as a family, than for, God forbid, when you die, Joe, Mary, come up with, $100,000 all at once. That's a rebuttal. Then you say, so what we need to do is figure out which one of these options makes the most sense and which one's going to fit the need the best. Right? You always, yeah, no problem. So what we need to do, not what we want to do, what we need to do is figure out which one of these options makes the most sense to you and which one's going to fit the need the best. So we just got to figure out which one of these options makes the most sense to you and which one's going to fit the need the best. Guess what number 5 is the last one? Number 5. Right after you do that, what do?
Close.
Close? Well, that's number 4 is close. What? That's a good answer, right? What do you think? After you close, what do?
Reassure.
Are you sure that's a good guess?
Bring up the problem again.
Bring up problem. That's another good guess. See if you can qualify. It's good. All good answers. You shut up. You literally just shut up, right? There's a book called Shut Up and Close. Because some people will start talking themselves out of the close, right? We just need to figure out which one makes the most sense to you and fits the need the best for you and your family. Dude, remember what I told you. They hate silence. They hate it. The first person that talks loses. You don't want 10 seconds to go by and you're like, yeah, guys, so like I said, it looks desperate. Looks desperate. You just got to figure out which one makes the most sense and fits the need the best for you and your family today. Boom. Dude, I've been in a sit. And it's crazy. Like I teach this, right? And yeah, it gets awkward. Like it gets freaking awkward. I'm not going to lie to you. Like I was in a sit with one guy. I was like, we just need to figure out, this was in person. I said, we just need to figure out which one makes the most sense to you and which one fits the need for you and your family. And I went to the laptop to start typing. And this guy was sitting there. I swear to you, you're going to do this. And 20 seconds feels like 10 minutes, right? But it was like literally like 5, 6, 7 minutes, right? And I'm like, dude, this dude still didn't say a freaking word. I'm like, this is crazy. And then like 10 minutes went by. I'm like, dude, what, right? I look over at him, finally. He's not even looking at the options anymore. He's like this, looking like this. I went like this. I'm looking at him. He's up here like this. I'm still looking at him. He goes like this. He goes. We make eye contact. I'm looking at him. He's looking at me. I went and looked at the options, and he went like this. I can see. I went like this. He went. We both were looking at the options, and I literally didn't say a word still. And he goes, "Oh, did you want me to pick an option?" I said, "Yeah, yeah." And he's like, "Oh, let's just do C for now." Right? How crazy is that? Right? So, dude, I teach this, and I'm in the sit, right? I see people do it, and I'm like, dude, this is freaking awkward. Like, and I teach people to do it. So trust me, this is awkward. Especially that's like a very crazy situation. But this shit is awkward sometimes. You gotta get comfortable at being uncomfortable, right? It's like I wish I could just I couldn't play it any better. It was like nonverbal. I was like looking at him and just went at the options, and he went. It was hilarious. So I need you guys to get this, okay? I need you to just shut up. Don't say anything. Right? Don't talk yourself out of it. Let them, sometimes they'll be like, well, Mary, we should probably think about this, don't you think? And some people will hear Mary say that and go, well, guys, it's really just, like I said, there's only 3 times. Dude, let them talk. Let them close themselves. They'll say, oh, well, Joe, don't you think we should think about this? And I'm just sitting there listening. Right? And I always, just helps me, guys. I'm like, they're going to pick an option. I try to speak it into existence. I'm like, they're going to pick it. They're going to pick it. They're going to pick it. They're going to go with B. This is going to be best sell ever. They're going to give us referrals. I try to think positivity, right? But I'm also prepared if they give me what? An objection, right? I'm also prepared for that. So I'm like, if they say this, they say that. I'm like, they're not going to. They're going to get it. But if they say this, like, I'm prepared, right? So you just shut up, close. So here's the recipe one more time. First thing is act calm, guys, right? Second thing is agree, understand, show empathy. The third thing is proceed to rebuttal. Fourth thing is close. And the last thing is shut up. All right, guys, I appreciate your time. That'll conclude our training for today on the closes. I tried to make it short, crisp, but to the point so you guys can get the fire and also, give you guys everything I know. That's the cool thing about this deal. I don't care what team you're on, whatever it is, you can come to me, ask me any questions, and I'll answer them. I'll literally give you my sauce, right? Give you my fire. Tommy, same thing. Give you his fire, his sauce. He doesn't care. He wants you guys to do great. And that's the cool thing about AIL. Dude, I've went up to the best of the best, got so much fire, and they're not like, I'm going to hoard it with me, and you're not allowed to have it. Dude, this is the only time, you remember in school when we would plagiarize? Or if we ever did that, we would get, into trouble. Here, you can plagiarize all you want. Cheat off everybody. It doesn't matter. Do what we do. We want you to be successful here. So I'm excited for every single one in training class. I'm really, really pumped. I really have been hearing great things about this training class. If you guys need anything or have any questions, let me know. Ask me, ask your upline, and I'll be here to help you guys. And I'm just excited, man. I'm excited and looking forward to your future here, guys. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Come on.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.